Welcome everyone to the first Macomb Manufacturers Hot Topics. My name is Camille Silda and I represent Macomb County Department of Planning and Economic Development. Our office is proud to be partnering with Casey Green, Economic Development Manager for the City of Sterling Heights, to launch this program. The idea for this one-hour panel discussion came from a brainstorming session that we had with a group of area manufacturers who stressed a need for assistance with some of the most current and important topics in manufacturing. I'd like to recognize some of those individuals who helped drive the creation of this series and are here with us today, and please wave when I say your name. Kevin LaComb from Fitzpatrick Manufacturing, who sponsored our box lunch today. I think we can give him a round of applause. It was very nice of your generous sponsorship, Kevin. We wouldn't have been able to hold the event without it. Donna Zobel, Myron Zecker, where are you? Hey! Another part of the team that worked with this, and also AGS Automotive and Experimental. Could we do the wave? Okay, thank you. Our common interest is the important role that manufacturing holds for our regional economy. Here in Macomb, we have nearly 2,000 companies that manufacture products or component products. These companies employ more than 53,000 people, and that is about 16% of our workforce. Manufacturing is important in Macomb County, the state, and the nation. So we want to do all we can here locally, and we want you to do well. So we're trying to offer options that can help. The packet you received is full of information about our services, so feel free to reach out to any one of those resources that are in your packet. Our goal in developing this series is to provide a forum where you can hear from your peers about how they confronted a problem and solved it. You're also going to hear from agencies, we have two in the front, and hopefully learn from each other. We'll open the floor for discussion, and we're going to do it in 1 hour. And Maria and Casey are going to keep us on track. In a moment, speaking of Casey, we will turn the podium to her and she will facilitate our discussion and introduce each of the panelists. I would like to note that you have pink surveys in your package. As we wrap up, please take a moment to share your feedback about today's program, because what you say today will help shape the future of the program for tomorrow. Oh, good, you all pulled them out. This is exciting. This is good response. Okay, and now on to the panel discussion. Casey?
Well, thank you, Camille, and welcome to everyone. I want to thank all of you for attending, but we're going to get right into the panel discussion today. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panelists that are here with us, and then we're going to hear from their perspectives. So on the panel today, we have Colin Miller, who's with the local Michigan Works office. We have Holger Ekanger, who's joined us from Macomb Community College. And then we have Kevin LaComb, as you were already introduced to, from Fitzpatrick Manufacturing. Hannah Costello is joining us today from Gentz Aerospace. And then we also have April Royal, who's joining us from DuPont. So we're very grateful that these panelists graciously offered to share their perspectives with all of you here today. And we're going to go ahead and start with Colin and ask Colin to tell all of you a little bit about how the Michigan Works office helps area manufacturers with some of the workforce issues that they're seeing out there today.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Casey and thank Velocity and thank all the other panelists that are here today. I think that right now we're kind of in a flux. We're as you all know, with manufacturing in Macomb and the area, and we're trying to do many different efforts to kind of attack the problem and try to figure out what's going on. That is, the problem is finding qualified candidates for manufacturers in the area. Michigan Works has done some things to, within this past year, to adapt our services better to address that issue. One of them is that we aligned ourselves with the state of Michigan in identifying 4 silos of industry and concentrating our efforts on those 4 silos. So I don't want to bore you with all the details of that, but internally it means that we have one representative that's for manufacturing, and that is myself for Michigan Works. So simplifies things that you have one person that you can contact. And then under myself, we have staff that work directly with the companies to try to find viable candidates. Our main tool, one of our main tools was the Michigan Talent Bank, and now is the Talent Connect. I don't know, I'm kind of scared to ask if anybody's used it yet. Does it work for you? Okay. That has been our main tool. That's where all of our resumes are deposited, and when you call us and say, I need somebody, that's the first place we go to. It's not the only thing, but it was revamped recently, and the new Talent Connect website is up and working now, thank goodness. So it's a tool that you may or may not be familiar with, but Michigan Works staff can help you register on that system. I've included in your packet a basic step-by-step process to register if you have not done so already. Nice thing about it is it's free, doesn't cost anything. And it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you need assistance from our staff to help you register on there and put your job on there, we can help you do that. The other things that Michigan Works does to help you as a manufacturer find people, you can see there's a trifold brochure in your packet of information that outlines all the services that we have. Mainly it is our staff working with you and your HR staff to help you find these individuals. Obviously, CNC is huge. Machinists, anything in that area is tough to fill right now. Hopefully the gathering of minds here today will have some insights onto that issue and why we're having that issue. It's frustrating for us, and it's frustrating for you. It's frustrating. We have obviously 2 customers, the job seeker and you, the employer. And it seems like a very reasonable thing to say, oh, we've got these people coming in every day and they have skills, why can't we just plug them into the jobs? And unfortunately it's not always quite that easy, but we will work with you to get a good definition of what you're looking for, and our staff are ready to help you fill those positions. We also hold focus groups with our customers. They're called career forums, and we identify customers who are what we call job ready. This is another change that we made this year. We go through a questionnaire with each person. Even though they've told us that they've come in to search for a job, we know that some people are more serious about their job search than others, and some people lack some of the basic tools that they need, or maybe they're really not ready to look for a job, but they had to register in the Michigan Talent Bank system because in order to collect their unemployment. So again, we go through and we pull out the people that we feel are the more serious job seekers, and those are the first people we go to usually when you call and you say you need somebody. Then we'll go into the general resumes that we have, and we can pre-screen them for you. We can test them for you if you would like to know a reading and math score on individuals that you get, we can give you that. If you give us a criteria that you want us to pre-screen for, that's another service we offer. We hold job fairs out at our Michigan Works offices. If you're a smaller company, you don't have the staff or the time to do those kind of things, we can have you come right to our office and we can have a job fair. We take care of all the advertising, we take care of the organization of it, and you just come out and basically can sit down and do the interviews right there. Other services that we have are that we do work with the college and identify when a company needs specific training and maybe we're not able to fill that. That is a case where we might reach out to our partners, Macomb Community College or St. Clair County Community College, and design a specialized program to fill that need for you. So I could talk for hours, but I know our time's limited. So, but my card is in the back. If you have questions, feel free to contact me.
Well, thank you, Colin. I think that presents a great segue to hearing more about some of those training resources. So, Holger, if you can tell us a little bit about Macomb Community College, some of the training assistance that can be available, that would be great.
Sure. You're all familiar with the college 200-degree certificate programs, and that's to address that long-term pipeline. High school students coming in who spend a year, 2 year, 3 year getting their degrees, certificate. Then we have on the workforce development side, we have our unit that is specifically targeting industry, companies, and addressing their unique need. That could be specific to a company that has a need. We provide a resource to address that need, or we work with companies to address a common need. Part of that is an offering through open enrollment. For example, we know that quality courses, quality-related programs, specific courses is something companies are asking for. We offer that on an open enrollment basis. Just an example. We have grants. We still think we are blessed with a large number of federal grants. These grants are targeting individuals that are unemployed, displaced maybe, which historically has been that trend when the automotive industry took a dive. We had a lot of people out there that were looking for work. But what we do is we work with companies to come up with, what do you see now that you have a need for? Specific occupations, specific jobs, specific skills. We develop those programs, work with the employers to validate that content, the program. Then we target the individuals that we just mentioned, the unemployed, dislocated, veterans, and we put them through those programs. Then we have, of course, ideally the employer on the back end who's been part of that process that then are hiring. In one of the grants, it's a $5 million grant. We're in the last year. We have trained over 2,300 individuals and have been placed 870 in jobs, and that's with over 370 different companies. Clearly, it is not the perfect approach because each company has a unique need. They might agree that maybe the quality technician should look like this, but there's always these unique flavors that each company would like to have. We do not want to address that. What we want to do is to look at what's the occupation, what's the skill set, and let's try to get up to maybe 80% of what everybody needs. And then the employer, when they hire, can do that specific 20% that is maybe unique to a process, unique to your company. What we also are doing is we're also recognizing that a lot of companies now, there's a struggle with finding qualified talent, qualified individuals, and also at the same time looking at how do you upskill your current workforce. So we have some unique approaches to that as well. Typically, you're familiar with open enrollment. For anything, you sign up, you have a time period for the course that's going to be offered. There's a cost to that. And then those that provide that training, regardless of who it is, has to manage the number of people and hopefully get enough to cover the cost of that training. And unfortunately, very often you have cancellations. What we're doing now is we are working with companies who are saying, we have a need in this area, but I can only send one person. Well, we work with a group of 15, 20 different companies that all can send one. The cost of that training is based on how many people are coming. So the more people that are coming to that training from multiple companies, the cheaper it will be per person. So we started that initiative 2 months ago, and that is moving forward. So what I'm basically saying is that we have a lot of different ways that we can try to meet the need, whether it's hiring, whether it's reskilling, upskilling internally. But there are challenges, as Colin mentioned, too. The technical training is only one portion of it. We can address the need and say we need somebody, or you have a need for somebody who can do CNC, basic operations. What we don't address in a lot of these programs are some of those soft skills. I mean, it would be with the idea that we hope that they show up on time, that they are doing their work, they are able to articulate skill sets, they're able to have a good work ethic, teamwork, all of these things. But that has not historically been a focus of our program. We're trying to address some of that as well. We're also working with Michigan Works. They have a great program that pays for the OJT portion of an individual up to 50% of their pay for a 3-month period. And what we are using then with the Michigan Works is that we are taking individuals that are going through our programs and seeing which one of them can be approved for that program. So we have no intent to compete with Michigan Works when it comes to the placement. Let's work hand in hand. So when Colin is out working with companies, there's also individuals that are pre-qualified, have been through a training program, meet the criteria for that OJT, and then can be placed with up to 50% reimbursement. So again, it is not perfect, but we have a great relationship with many of you. We get great feedback from employers, but we also wish sometimes that we get that better feedback. What works, what doesn't work? Where are we strong? Where do we need to improve? What's missing in all of this? If we don't hear that, we can't make those changes. And that's basically the core of our business, to be responsive, to make changes. Again, not everything we do is going to be perfect, but we're willing to make sure that we can get there.
Well, great, thank you. So you've heard from two of our area service providers, and now we're going to move into something I think is really exciting for all of you and give you an opportunity to hear from some of your peers about some of their experiences managing workforce issues within their own firms. So we're going to start with Kevin LaComb to talk about how Fitzpatrick Manufacturing is addressing some of these issues.
Okay, as Colin and Holger mentioned, the pipeline of qualified people has greatly diminished. Everyone knows the surveys, manufacturing is dead last as far as acceptable careers with college people. So how do we go about doing this? When I was in middle school or junior high, there was wood shop, machine shop. Those classes don't exist. There's no exposure to the younger people what manufacturing is about. We have a group of OU students in our facility right now. They're coming in once a week. They've never seen a turning machine. They don't even know what a lathe was. They didn't know what a milling machine was. They didn't know what grinding was. These are people just a few years younger than me. So in that vast time frame, which wasn't really that vast, the whole paradigm has shifted. So there's no exposure to these younger people about what manufacturing is. And on the other hand of the coin, or the other side of the coin, is the fact that people that think they know what manufacturing is don't really know what it is. A lot has changed. So from our standpoint, we realize training and education is our key in order to combat the situation. Whose job is it to train people? Is it the schools or is it the employers? At this point, we believe it's our job. So what we've done is we've developed an internal training program made up of really several subsets. One is on-the-job training. The other one is classroom, both internal and external. We actually have a classroom on the site. When we built our building, it was going to be our conference room. We have since changed that to our classroom. External training, external classroom training, off-site lectures. Then we developed something called almost like a continuing education unit. In our business, it seems like more so than ever, products run in cycles. About 60 to 70% of our work is repeat. So you might do a job 2 years ago and you might not see that job again for 2 years. So that skill set that you learned 2 years ago is kind of in the back of your mind. So we developed a continuing education program. As those jobs start coming in, we have classes or lectures internally to come back up to speed on it. Then the other thing that's been really important for our business, it's kind of costly, but we take a lot of field trips. A lot of our people, what's inside a steel mill? We've never, a lot of people have not been to a steel mill. We went down to Servistall in Dearborn. We go to a plating company, we go to a painting company, we go to black oxide people. What really goes on? So we view that all as training. As far as on-the-job training, another very expensive option, but over the past 4 years, we've had 2,165 hours of on-the-job training. Extremely expensive, but it's really important because sometimes there's a disconnect of what we're teaching inside our classroom or externally than what goes on the shop floor. The other thing is the classroom training. It starts at the very beginning, as soon as you're hired, employee orientation. Then we get into the nitty-gritty of what we're doing. And when you first started this program back about 10 years ago, we kind of got off the wrong track because we were teaching classes like trig. That's great, but you don't really need to know trig as much as you did 20 years ago being a machinist. So we revamped the whole program into stuff that actually makes sense. Work cell disciplines, standardized work, intro to checking instruments. Once again, there's no exposure to this stuff, so a lot of new employees think that micrometer is actually a C-clamp. No, it's a micrometer. This is a caliper. What's a bore gauge? So we get into that. Then we go into more advanced classes, instrument reading, level 1 and 2, how to set up that bore gauge, how to calibrate that profilometer. Then we get into the further extensive classes, such as advanced milling or turning and processing. How to program that machine, how to use Gibbs cam. And the other thing that we've done is GD&T, geometric dimensioning and tolerancing. You might be able to read a blueprint, but there's no exposure to GD&T. In some aspects, we teach all these classes internally with our internal qualified instructors, what we feel are internal qualified, but there's some subject matters that we cannot teach. And that's where Holger's helped us out quite a bit. We've actually had a class taught on our facility through MTech, engineering drawing interpretation, blueprint reading, and the other one is geometric dimensioning and tolerancing. We could probably teach those subjects internally, but a qualified instructor could explain it 4 or 5 different ways so the students could grasp it. We're not teachers. We can explain it one way, but if the student's not understanding it, we're not qualified enough to explain it 5 or 6 different ways so that students can grasp it. That's where Holger's programs come in. Qualified teacher, a real teacher, can explain things a lot differently than somebody that's very versed in the subject. So the internal classroom hours, another expensive option, but we have to do it. On average, we hold about 10 classes a year internally with our instructors. The classes range anywhere from 6 weeks to 10 weeks. They're paid. The classes are taught on company time. Everyone's punched in. The classes last about an hour to 90 minutes. After that, it's ozone time. But over those past 4 years, we've had about 3,100 hours of classroom training. Extremely expensive, but that's the only way we feel that we can continue to be competitive. And as far as external classes, things are changing so rapidly in manufacturing, they can't stay on top of it. So we've actually sent our people out for classes in Gibbs cam, SolidWorks essentials. And the more simple classes, you'll be surprised, there's some deficits. As our customer needs are getting more and more demanding, we thought we had a pretty good knowledge base of Excel. When it came down to it, we had to send people out for Excel training, Excel 1 and 2. PowerPoint, that was another thing that came to the surface real quick. Customers are demanding more precise, informative presentations when we go to visit them. A lot of our people didn't really know PowerPoint in depth to present a well-rehearsed, polished presentation. My OSHA classes, so on and so forth. It goes on and on. We talked about the off-site visits, plating companies, heat treaters, painting. The employee knows that part gets painted once he gets done machining it. But what's the painting process? How about black oxide, zinc plating? We found it to be extremely valuable to take those people off-site and take them right into the factory that does those options for us, or those processes. It helps out with processing later on. Yes?
Is it okay if I ask?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why not?
Let it rip.
Kevin, my name is Tom Gentz with Profitable. Question I have for you in regards to this about internal training that
Yes.
you mentioned here. Is there any type of, I'll say, training agreement, or how do you select the individuals to be part of that program?
Well,
Is there criteria?
Well, actually, what we've developed is a training matrix. Starts on the first day of your employment, and there's within 2 months you'll be in this class. Within 3 months, then there's the fast track option. If this employee comes in and high potential, he gets put in those classes faster. But everybody has a training matrix that goes out to 5 to 8 years of employment. So if you're with our company 3 years, you'll be guaranteed at least this many classes internally or externally. But once again, if you're a high potential person, you might only be there 3 years and be at the 8-year level. So it just depends upon the potential of the employee and how much he's actually gravitating towards the subject.
What about the individual who leaves the company that you spent all this time, money, and effort in training this individual?
It sucks, bottom line. It sucks. I mean, we did a lot of things. We were very concerned about the recession. 3 or 4 years ago, we had a lot of people laid off. And we did everything we could to stay close to those employees because we didn't want those employees being gobbled up by our competition. Some of these guys have had 5, 6 years of training at our expense. They're very valuable to our competition. And most of everybody came back. Only a couple people actually didn't come back because they actually left the state once. But it's definitely a concern. But, you know, we're employer at will and an employee at will. They can leave anytime they want and can't do anything about it. Very welcome.
Why don't we go ahead and keep going then?
Okay.
Oh,
Are you
go
all
for it.
set?
I'm all set.
Okay. I should probably start by saying that Gentz Aero was purchased by MB Aerospace in December of last year. So we have, the upper management team is almost all new. And myself, I've only been there for 6 months. So we're kind of still formulating all of this, but I can tell you what I've done so far. And the biggest thing is we've cast our net far and wide. We are working with Colin. We are working with Macomb Community College. I have appointments set up with Warren Consolidated because the Career Prep Center is one of the few machining classes still left in the area. Lincoln's closed, East Detroit High School is closed, Roseville High School is closed, all their machine shops. I know Warren Mott has closed their machine shop that was right in the school. So we're working with those up-and-coming machinists, I hope to say, and the goal will be, in addition to CNC machinists, we need CNC programmers for offline programming, we need tool designers, we need engineers. So the goal is that these new students that we're cultivating and hopefully bringing on board as an internship or a training program may want to diversify into some of those other areas. And we're paying their tuition. After you've been at Gentz for a year, we pay your tuition. So the goal is that we'll be able to retain some of those and then cultivate the workforce that way. I have, as far as casting the net, any job fairs, any free postings, of course, or low cost. So we've tried Monster, we've tried Talent Bank, we've tried Fox 2 News. Craigslist actually does work. We've gotten a couple interviews through there. You're shaking your head, so you've tried it too. Yeah, networking. We started a referral program. If you refer an employee to us, you actually get paid for it. You know, like the internal employee gets a payment. So much after 3 months, so much after 6 months. The very high in-demand jobs such as machinists and engineers, we doubled what we pay for normal positions. That's pretty much the guts of it, is just cast your net far and wide right now.
Okay, great. Well, April, maybe you can share with us some things DuPont is doing.
So DuPont does things a little bit different, I think. We have, of course, DuPont's worldwide, so corporate, excuse me, I have a little cold. So corporate has guidelines on how they want their site HRs to handle hiring. And first thing that we do, in fact, we just submitted for 17 manufacturing positions, and it came off the website, the DuPont website, just Sunday. So we're actually going through this process now. We actually come up with the job description, and we send it to our DuPont recruiter. We are assigned a recruiter to the site. They look through it, and we have to come up with some qualifying questions. What are we looking for the candidate to absolutely have, and what is our wish list that they have? And then when we look, and when we get the candidates back, we don't get paper resumes or anything. We don't accept the resumes at the site. It's all on the website. So when we look at those, how we decide who's going to test, for example, the manufacturing jobs that we just posted, they have to test to qualify. So we look at those qualifying questions and say, okay, who on here got 100%? Of course, they're going to go through testing. And then we try to do about 40% of our candidates. We try to test those. So out of this group that just came down from DuPont website, from Career Builder, and I think there's one other website that we use. We're testing 122 people, and we use the Concord Ballroom. I think you guys might know where the Concord is. We use that to test, and we have usually about 4 people from HR that coordinate the day. And then when we're done with that, it takes about 76 hours to get the test back from corporate. And then we usually get about 50% from that. So the test is pretty good, pretty good, weeds out the people that are going to be qualified for our position. So then we interview everybody that qualifies. And then when we get to the interview process, we make sure that we have 2 operators that are actually doing the job, sitting on the interview team, along with a member from staff, a member from HR, and a member from management. So we have 5 people sitting on the interview panel. And we score, we have the interview guide is also supplied from corporate for us. And we use that to score the best candidates. And then I actually run the process of keeping score of it. And I know I'm getting into details, but I thought it was kind of interesting to share with you. After that, we actually do the due diligence process, which is the background check and they have to come in. We have a site medical at DuPont, so they have to come in and do a drug test. And once they qualify with all that, we bring them onto site, and we have a 1-week orientation. DuPont, as you know, is very safety-minded, so our first week is safety. So we, after HR is done with the first week of orientation, then they go out to the plant, where the plant has probably 3 to 6 months of training documents that they have to make sure. We have a training site. We have a training, department that keeps records of all the training, and so they can't, until they're signed off, they can't go to their position. So that takes about 90 days. We recently, because of the training is 90 days, and Colin has been working with us too around the OJT process, where we get 50% of their pay and not to exceed to $10 an hour. So they do make more than $10 an hour, but that's really helped us out a lot. So thank you, Colin, for that. We've had some good success stories from our hiring process. I think one of the best things that happens is involving the people that are actually doing the work in the interview team. That's really helped their self-esteem. Plus, it's helped with the rumor mill and all that thing. When they come out to the plant, the actual people they're working with actually help choose the candidates. So that's really helped a lot. They're not saying management's picking their people, or we're not getting any of that. So that's really helped. That was a good success. One of the struggles that we had, I wanted to share, was sometimes the medical piece. With this hiring process, we can bring somebody on site. We've already sent them a letter saying, we've offered you this position in contingent of the medical piece coming back. And then we do get that piece back, and we have to rescind our offer. So that wasn't a good experience that we had with that. So I'd like to see if we can try to fix that somehow. So we're working on that. And hopefully this helped.
Well, thank you again to all of our panelists. I think we want to open it up now to all of you as our guests to see what questions you might have for the panelists, and kind of do some casual open discussion now for the remainder of our session here. So anyone who has any questions?
One more time?
Did you look at tooling you at all?
We did not.
I'm going to go ahead and repeat questions because I know sometimes sound doesn't travel back. The question was to Kevin if he looked at tooling you in developing the training.
We did not.
Jim.
Mm-hmm.
What typically is your draw of people? Where exactly are you getting all of the people from to attend the applicants? And how typically are you to get if you only have one employer?
Okay, so the question was to Colin regarding job fairs in how does Michigan Works work to bring in a crowd to that? How do they get that crowd and what's their typical turnout?
There's basically two ways that we do a job fair with the company. One is an open job fair, and the other is by invitation only. The one that I would say would be more successful is the invitation only one, only because you control the people that are coming in. So if we start off with a job description or job descriptions from you, we can contact the individuals and set up basically individual interviews, or we can say, come between 10:30 and 10:45, and somebody from the company will be here to interview you. But we can leave it open the other way, where we just basically advertise it through our offices, through our local partners, and even we can post things through the newspapers and the radio, and it's a bit of a free-for-all. Then obviously you get a lot of people coming in. But we can do it either way.
Mm-hmm. Just to add a little perspective on that, in the various grants that we have done, we have very targeted job fairs as well. We have worked with Michigan Works on several of them. But as an example, for the multi-skilled technician program, we know that the class is graduating. Then we work with not only this particular grant-funded program, but also with those students that are going through the credit program. And we have employers that are coming in that can meet the students. They are fairly, maybe about 5 to 15 employers, but they're targeting one specific occupation. Do the same thing for welding, same thing for the controls, robotics technician. So we work with employers to do exactly that. So it doesn't become like a free-for-all, but really focusing on the skill set, spending some more time with a participant, whether it's a grant-funded or through the regular college, but everything is very focused and specific. And if that is of interest, give us a call. There are information in there as well.
Alicia.
I was wondering for our 3 employers, what would be the top 2 positions that you're having the most difficulty in filling, and why?
So the question was to all of the employers, what are the top 2 positions you're struggling to fill and why?
Go ahead, you go first.
Our organization is very flat. So all the hiring that we're doing is for the shop side. So we're looking for CNC machinists, operators. So that's our big push.
For us, I would probably say the CNC machinists, but right now we're looking for, we're in the beginning stages of a growth phase. So right now we need a few very experienced machinists, and then we're hoping to work to mentor some of the incoming or fresher machinists, so to speak. The other position we're really having problems filling would be engineers. I can speak from experience because 2 years ago, my daughter, who is an engineer, and her husband, who is an engineer, freshly minted graduates from Michigan Tech, could not get a job to save their lives. Nobody wanted to talk to them. We spent thousands of dollars in travel expenses, sending them to different parts of the country for interviews. Now, we're paying the expenses for the engineers to come and visit us. We're paying moving expenses because all of a sudden this is all opened up. And for a while, I don't think a lot of people were going into engineering, just like people weren't going into CNC machining, because there were no jobs. So I think we're just in that kind of bubble where we're in that transition phase. So hopefully, we can work on that upswing again. So.
I have to agree with the process engineers, because was earlier this year, we were looking for process engineers, and the same thing. We had brought them in, even out of state, paid for their hotel, paid for their plane ticket, and everything, just to get them interested in coming in to interview. So I don't really know what that is. Probably what you said is just it. We need to get more people, I guess, back into the engineering field.
Just add to that a little bit. Kevin and I in the other group talked about it a little bit earlier. One of the biggest challenges, and we've talked about this probably all of us for 10, 15, 20 years. One of the biggest challenges is that the perception of manufacturing. And there isn't a lot of initiatives to go out into the K-12 and to start promoting manufacturing as a viable career, as options. I think Hannah talked about the schools that are dropping their career and tech ed programs. There's no visibility, there's no going out and get exposed to this. That is a challenge, and as a group, Macomb County, that's one of the things that could be done to really go out there and do a concerted effort. All of the great jobs that are in manufacturing, the career options, the educational options, the four-year schools, it has to start someplace. I mean, as parents, we're equally guilty. How many are looking at manufacturing or have an awareness of manufacturing, the jobs that are there? It's much easier to look at, no, my son, my daughter is going to go to a four-year school, realizing that perhaps their jobs are not there. And then, as somebody talked about earlier, manufacturing jobs, you can continue your education. It could be reimbursed. It could be paid for. There's career opportunities that very few are aware of. And that is a major challenge for all of us.
I was going to say, to Holger's point, the perception is the factory floor looks like something from the 1940s or 1950s. That is not the way a factory floor looks like today. They're expensive machines. The place is well lit. It's clean, climate controlled. But people still have this perception of the old school pictures from the 1940s, making munitions for World War II. Factories just don't look like that anymore.
It was an article that came out last week. College enrollment, whether you consider community colleges, universities, is at the 15-year low when it comes to enrollment. Then you have all the jobs that are available. And again, going back to, we have to, as a group, kind of come up with, how could we do something like that? Do that outreach and promote manufacturing as a viable career.
Alicia, and then we'll...
Just as a follow-up, do you think that part of the problem is that most students think that if I go into engineering, that means I'm going to work for Ford, General Chrysler, and they don't recognize that engineering has other applications? Do you think that that's part of it?
I do. I think it's part of it. We've actually lost a couple engineers, young engineers, stayed with us, 6 months or so. Then all of a sudden, Dad knows a friend who got me into Ford, and I'm leaving. And, that is the ultimate. They offer more benefits than smaller manufacturers can. So what I try and do before they leave, or as we're recruiting, is enlighten them. If you go to Ford, and I know this isn't always the case, but it's a big company. You may work on the left side rear view mirror for 10 years. Mm-hmm. If you come to Gentz, you'll be able to see the project from beginning to end. You may help innovate new ways of doing things. Completely up to you. It's your choice. Do you want these benefits, or do you want to be more in control of what you do in a day? And I've been able to actually I got one engineer that way, and then I had another engineer who was actually a chemical engineer, and I found her at my very first job fair with Gentz, and she was working in business. Very intelligent young lady, had a very diverse background, but she was a chemical engineer by degree. So I presented her resume. We actually brought her in as training her, but part of the process, she said, I don't know, I have another offer for another career path. And I said, that's commendable, but do you want to be an engineer or do you want to be in business, sit in an office? And luckily she chose engineering and stayed with us. So I think part of it is marketing. We have to become our own best salespeople as far as bringing people in.
In the
Okay.
middle.
Oh, sorry.
It's just to elaborate on Holger. For our company, ourselves, to speak honest personally, we're an aging company. And the workforce is really aging. And to try to get young people, today it's an issue because we have a lack of people working today in the industry. But I think another 5, 10 years is going to be worse because the manufacturing continues to grow. Where's all these young people going to start entering into this type of workforce? And I think some of the concerns, at least we have, is the educators and school systems are promoting and pushing for the students to go for a 4-year degree, which is great, obviously, but not everybody's cut out for that. And so there's really no awareness to these students, educators about manufacturing. They hear the buzzword, they truly don't know really what manufacturing is today. And I think that's a huge, huge concern, because it's going to get worse, as I say, I think another 5 to 10 years from now. We're very concerned, as we age, where's all these young people coming from?
I think part of this is also related to historically the way the funding, who has had funding to support these initiatives. As an educational institution, we're blessed, we still call it blessed, with a lot of grants that are targeting individuals that are not employed. This is the pipeline. The state historically had money to fund training for companies that were upskilling their incumbent workforce. And it seems like there's either too much or nothing. And that is a challenge because it has to go hand in hand. While you're looking at the long-term pipeline, looking at that short-term skills, which the grants are great for, but also what are some of the incentives to really upskill the workforce? So it doesn't become now you can only focus on this thing where there might be some incentives, or now you can only focus on that. Same time, also for companies to be willing to explore other ways to pay for that training. We have a couple of programs now where we're saying to employers that we'll fund you 50% of that seat, of the cost of that student. You pay the other 50%. Now we put some greater burden on you to help us identify the perfect candidate going through the program. But then both of us have a stake in getting the most qualified person in and the best qualified candidate out on the back end. So this is how we kind of try to figure out with challenges, with not having all the funding, what is it that we can do that would create that win-win?
I just want to take one quick moment because I don't want everyone in this room to leave with any misperception. I want you to know that there is a whole team of professional people representing school systems, Automation Alley, local units of government, the state, all over. This is a hot topic of conversation, and we hear you. We are definitely trying to bridge connections with parents and educators and businesses to help address this long-term pipeline challenge and these very real perception issues. And it is a very complicated challenge, but I want you to know that challenge has been heard and that there are a lot of people trying to work around solutions on that for those long-term solutions. But we certainly also want to make sure that in the meantime we're working with you locally here to help get you access to support systems that are in place to help you now. But just please know that concern is out there, it has been heard, and there are a lot of very smart people and hardworking people trying to work on that. So I don't want anyone to leave with the perception that no one's working on this or addressing it. There's a lot of people out there working on these issues. So, well, if we can give a round of applause to our panelists for giving their time today. We're going to have just a few closing remarks, so if we can just have 2 more minutes of your time. But thank you to all of you for joining and for coming out to visit with us today. It's been a real pleasure hosting you, and I'm going to let Camille give us some closing remarks.
Well, we've thanked the panel. Let's thank Casey for moderating. We would also like to thank all of you for coming and ask that you fill out that charming pink survey, because what you tell us will help shape and form the upcoming events. There is a tentative December 4th date slated. We need a sponsor for it, but the topic will be on workforce development, but this time it will be in non-traditional ways to recruit employees. So this might be something of interest. We have Focus Hope confirmed, and we have another state program that we're looking at to come. Of course, we'll promote it, so watch your emails. I also want to tell you that we have a Macomb Manufacturers LinkedIn group. It's a closed group, and by that I mean it is only for manufacturers. So we can't let those boring doctors and lawyers in the group. You'll never live it down, Donna. At any rate, if you decide to join, we welcome you, and you can comfortably communicate with other like-minded individuals. It's interactive, so please feel free to share, and that's Macomb Manufacturers in LinkedIn. So thanks again for attention. Feel free to stick around for a few minutes to network, but we do want to get you out on time, so thank you for your time.